Yes, have all joined. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So good morning all,
Good morning, sir.
and a
Good
very happy
morning.
new year to all.
Morning, sir.
Same to you, sir.
Happy New Year, sir.
So let me share the screen first. Okay. So what we discussed in the last class. Yes. Can someone just refresh what we discussed in the last class? No idea.
सर माइक्रो मैकेनिक्स
No.
कंप्लीट हो गया था आई थिंक.
I think up to this elastic behavior of composite lamina, macro mechanics also we talked.
Yes, sir.
है ना. 4 चैप्टर तक आपका कंप्लीट हो गया. 5th भी हमने स्टार्ट कर दिया था. At least we could see different mode of failure. Okay, so this is what we talked. And एक असाइनमेंट मैंने आपको लोगों को दिया था. I think you would have done it.
Yes, sir.
है ना.
यस सर.
एक
Yes, sir.
असाइनमेंट और मैं आज आपको पोस्ट करूंगा. कुछ प्रॉब्लम्स, एनी डाउट, एनी प्रॉब्लम्स हो गया था सब.
Yes, sir.
कोई दिक्कत तो नहीं आया ना प्रॉब्लम करने में.
नो सर.
No, sir.
No, sir.
एवरीवन सबने किया है या कॉपी वगैरह किया हुआ है सबने?
Yes, sir.
नहीं, सर. Yeah.
सबने किया है.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
sir.
sir.
दैट इज गुड. तो एक और मैं असाइनमेंट 4 चैप्टर में जो है आपको दूंगा. आई विल जस्ट सेंड इट थ्रू गूगल क्लासरूम ओनली. ठीक है.
Okay.
देन टुडे विल बी स्टार्टिंग स्ट्रेंथ ऑफ यूनिडायरेक्शनल लैमिना. And first we'll be talking about micro mechanics, and in the next chapter we'll be talking about macro mechanics. Okay. So earlier we talked about elastic behavior of lamina from microscopic and macroscopic point of view. Okay. But now we will be talking about strength of unidirectional lamina micromechanics point of view. Right. So in this we will understand failure mechanism and strength, right? Although we discussed different mode of failure, no? In that you remember, let me open slides and share it. Yeah, my screen is visible.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Just a minute. Hmm. Yes. So this is what we talked. Hmm? All these we have talked. So this is what we talked, predicting longitudinal tensile strength of unidirectional lamina. So we have stress strain response of fiber and stress strain response of matrix. Then how to predict stress strain response of composite material. So this is what we talked. We talked about stage 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. And stage 1, then stresses are small and fiber matrix material, they exhibit elastic behavior. Then the matrix starts becoming plastic, that is in this stage. Okay, this is plastic stage, and but fiber is still elastic, right? So this is second stage. Then third stage would be both fiber and matrix, they deform plastically. Okay, and finally the fiber fracture leading to sudden rise in matrix stresses, which in turn lead to overall composite failure. So this is what we talked, right? So this also we talked. Now sometime what happen, this is what we can use to determine the strength of the composite. Okay, strength of composite, having known stress strain response of fiber and matrix. Okay, in this particular case, the failure strain, ultimate tensile strain of fiber is less than the matrix. Okay, so once fiber is filled, then composite is filled. But we can determine what will be the strength of composite having known these quantities. Okay, having known these quantity, we can determine this. This is what we did, right? So this is what we determined, and then we talked about this VF minimum. Okay, VF minimum we can determine. This is this is a threshold value of volume fraction. Okay, and if once fiber have broken, can the composite take the more load? The stress that matrix can take alone is given by this. Okay, and if this is greater than this sigma 1 T ultimate, then only it will be taking extra load. Okay, means when fiber fails, matrix will be able to take the load only if this condition is satisfied. And based on this condition, we can determine a minimum threshold volume fraction. So this is calculated as this. Okay. So this is what we talked. Similarly, if F critical, okay, because we want that composite should have its ultimate tensile strength more than the matrix. Okay, so this is what we talked. Like this point should be always above this point. Okay, and for that also there is some volume fraction that should be there, and that is called VF critical. And if you just put composite strength equal to ultimate strength of matrix, so then we can obtain this formula. Okay, so this is what we talked. So this is what we discussed. If VF is less than V minimum, then failure of matrix will coincide with the failure of composite, while fiber will fail prior to failure of matrix. This is the case. Okay, so this is what we discussed here. VF minimum. So the composite strength would be less than this matrix, right? Similarly, when this is equal to V minimum, then failure of matrix, fiber, and composite will happen at the same time. If VF is greater than V minimum, then failure of fiber will immediately lead to failure of matrix as well as that of composite. Okay, and VF greater than V critical, then failure of fiber will immediately lead to the failure of matrix and also the composite. In such a case, the strength of unidirectional composite will exceed that of matrix. So this is all we discuss. Okay, then we talk about failure of unidirectional ply under a longitudinal tensile load. That fracture of fiber may take place, brittle fracture of fiber with pull out may take place, fiber pull out with fiber matrix debonding can take place. Okay, and this all depend upon volume fraction. Okay, for example, if this is the case, if this is the case, like volume fraction is between 0 to 0.4, low fiber volume fraction, a typical glass epoxy composite exhibit a mode 1 type of failure, like brittle fracture of fiber will take place, right? And for intermediate volume fraction, mode 2 will be taking place, means brittle fracture of fiber with pull out will take place, right? And as the volume fraction will exceed 0.65, then fiber matrix debonding will take place. This is what we discussed. When volume fraction will be high, then bonding between the matrix and fiber will be very weak. So that's why debonding, chances of debonding will increase. Okay. And under compressive loading also we discussed, like here it is shown, compressive loading, it may be okay, and this kind of failure may take place, like transverse tensile strain failure. It may be along the interface, or it may be of the matrix. Similarly, shear failure may take place because you know this, like when it is under compression, then uh, there will be stresses, shear stresses induced along a plane 45 degree to this direction of loading. So this kind of failure may take place, or it may be fiber micro buckling. Okay, so this is also we discussed. Okay, this calculation, this can be used, this formula can be used to calculate this strength, compressive strength and all. Okay, and this can be derived also. And then longitudinal compressive strength, micro buckling we talked, that can lead to, you know, kinking, kink John. Okay, or it may lead to fracture depending upon your behavior of fibers, whether it is ductile or whether it is brittle. Brittle, it will fracture like this, and if it is ductile, then it will make this kind of kink John, right? Okay, so this is all we have discussed. Transfer strength of unidirectional lamina. So this also I think we talked. Okay, so this all we have discussed. I don't know whether I have shared these slides or not. Have I shared these slides?
No, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
No, sir.
I will share these. Okay.
Yes, sir.
But important thing is that you should know that under different kind of loading, what kind of failure may take place. Okay. Even we'll be talking about the behavior near to interface or in the matrix, in the fiber. Behavior means, from mechanics point of view, behavior means how the stresses are varying, how the stresses, what kind of stresses are developed. So that is what we'll be talking today. Okay, so this I have shown here, tensile, transverse tensile loads if they are acting. So matrix tensile failure may take place, constituent debonding may take place, or fiber splitting may take place. Okay, so this is all what we discuss. Matrix shear failure may take place under transverse compressive load, right? So this is what. Okay, and this also we discussed, that how to calculate the strength. Okay, so having talked this, let me open this book itself. Okay, and let me go to that part. I think in third chapter you might have done Cox model, right? Cox model. Yes,
Yes,
or
sir.
no?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
And shear lag model also.
Here like model.
Shear lag model, that is Cox model, right?
Mm.
Let me
Yes, sir.
open that because that is important. So this we are going to use also. Now let us see that how this is what micromechanics, and then this is mechanics of material approach, bounding methods, right? And then semi-empirical method, that is Helfenstein relation, right? And then this is what we talked. This is for continuous fiber. So there may be short fiber or there may be continuous fiber. This all are for continuous fiber. Okay, elastic properties, transverse elastic property in case of continuous fiber. So these all we have talked. Okay, but let me go to the shear lag model. Shear lag model. So this is in plane shear modulus, how to calculate. Okay, so shear lag model. This is what shear lag model, and this is for short fiber. Okay, discontinuous fiber. And to analyze that, what has been done, they have considered this cross section of characteristic volume element in the form of a cylinder. Here this is the cylinder, and in between there is a fiber. Okay, the volume fraction is given by this pi r square. R is the radius of the fiber inside this, and r naught is the this radius. Okay. So then it is subjected to strain sigma 1. The whole composite is subjected to sigma 1. Okay. And epsilon 1 is the average strain. Okay. So RGO can be calculated once we know this VF. Once we know that, we can calculate R naught. Okay. So the Cox predicted that the sigma 1F. Okay. This is the stress, axial stress in fiber. Okay. Now how it has come? Again, it will be a black box kind of thing. But if you want to know more about this, you will have to refer the paper by this Cox. It is given in the references. So 15 number reference, you can just refer. Okay. But we are not going into that, how it has derived. But you should know that this is actually, axial stress in fiber. Okay. So this is given by this formula. Okay. So now here, like beta is given by this 2ZM and all these. So you have to use it as black box. N is like you can write N also. S is the aspect ratio, fiber aspect ratio. Okay. R is the radius, fiber radius, and fiber radius and diameter. Okay. See here, you can see when it is subjected to some stresses, that how matrix and fiber will be deforming. So this is what has been shown here. Okay, so this will be subjected to U1F displacement. It will be subjected to U1M matrix. It means M means matrix, M means fiber. 1 means it is in direction 1. Okay. And then if you see the whole composite, if you just instead of whole composite, what you do is you just consider with this some representative volume element, and then you just look at that representative volume element. Okay, representative volume element. As the name is telling, what do you mean by representative volume element? It means that it is representative of the whole composite. And if that volume element is subjected to the stress like sigma 1, which will result in epsilon 1 strain, and L is the length of fiber. Okay. So then how it will be deformed? Because fiber is stiffer than matrix. So the deformation in the matrix will be more as compared to fiber. So that's why it will deform like this. Fiber will be deformed more. These lines represent before deformation, but after deformation they will deform like this. So in this fiber stress sigma 1F, so this can be calculated using this. Okay, this is the fiber stresses, axial stress in fiber. Now later, in addition to fiber stress, we would also be interested in interfacial shear stress also. Interfacial shear stress, right? That is tau I. So this is given by this formula. Okay, and if you plot it, it is very important to note that the shear stresses, interfacial shear stresses would be high near to the end, at this end. Okay, so that is what has been shown here. So tau I will be maximum at the fiber end. On the other hand, the axial stress would be 0 at the end. And this is very important because when we will be talking about that load is applied and then fiber is broken, at the broken end of the fiber, the stress distribution will be similar as shown here. Like shear stresses will be high, but normal stresses would be 0. Okay, so that is what has been shown. Like this equation, if you plot this equation, this can be plotted with respect to this distance, and this can also be plotted. This can also be plotted. So this would be variation would be like this, right? The average stress in the composite volume element is obtained by the rule of mixture. You know this. So sigma 1 is equal to Vf sigma 1f and Vm sigma m bar. These are the average stresses. Average stress in fiber and average stress in matrix. Okay. Average stress in fiber and average stress in matrix. Right? And if you just put for sigma 1f and this, you will obtain the sigma 1. Okay, and once sigma 1 is known, and just divide it by epsilon 1, then you can just find out this elastic modulus E1, right? And this elastic modulus is involving one additional parameter now. This is what we call I think iota, we call iota L. Okay, and this is the length correction. If you just compare it with the rule of mixture, that was having simply E1F Vf plus Vm Em. So there is one parameter which take care of the length, and this is called length correction factor. Length correction factor. Okay, and when we have very stiff fiber, like E1F is very large compared to Em, and volume fraction is very high, right? So this expression will lead to this. This will lead to this, which is equal to E1 short fiber, and this would be E1 continuous fiber. So this is actually the length correction parameter, and as aspect ratio S increases, S, okay, because it is a function of S, if it is increases, the behavior of discontinuous fiber composite, it approaches to a continuous fiber composite. Like this will become 1 in that case. Okay, like if these length are just approaching to this. Okay, so if it is a continuous fiber, then this length parameter, length correction factor, that will attain value 1, and it will be same as your continuous fiber. So this is your Cox model that we discussed. Okay, but let me go to the strength part. There we calculate strength of unidirectional lamina. So this all we have discussed. Okay, and today, as I said, I will be mailing you some questions on this chapter also. Yeah, this one. So this is what we know from the rule of mixture, right? Here we'll be talking about longitudinal tension. We will understand failure mechanism and strength. Okay. So under unidirectional longitudinal tension, the phase with the lower ultimate strength will fail fast. So this is what I talked. Like for example here, there may be the case when fiber is having that lower value of ultimate strain, failure strain, compared to this matrix. Okay, but there may be cases when that matrix would be having less or lower value of ultimate failure strain compared to fiber. Okay, so these are the two cases, right? So when this is the case, when the ultimate tensile strain of fiber is lower than that of matrix, so then the tensile strength, because we are talking about longitudinal tension, So whatever property we'll be getting, that will be strength, because now we are talking about strength, not stress, right? Because this is stress, right? But when this is the value of the stress, when your composite is failed, so then the same quantity will become your strength. Okay, so that's why on the same basis this formula has been written. Okay, on the basis of your rule of mixture again. And the strength of the composite is directly proportional to the volume fraction of the constituents. Okay, so they will contribute to the strength of the composite, like constituent will contribute to the strength of the composite proportional to their volume fraction. So this is what we are going to use. And as we discussed, like when matrix is having more value of ultimate tensile strain, okay, compared to fiber, then fiber will actually decide when the composite is going to fail. So this line actually will define this F1T. Okay, and this is F FFT, and this is F1T. This is FT. This is FT, and this is F1T. This is for composite, and similarly this is sigma m prime. This. So the composite strength would be equal to FFT, like multiply by corresponding volume fraction VF, and here also multiplied with the corresponding volume fraction. So this is what we will get. So sigma, I'm sorry, F1T is longitudinal composite tensile strength, and this FFT is longitudinal fiber tensile strength. Sigma m prime is longitudinal average longitudinal matrix stress when ultimate fiber strain is reached, like this value. So having known having known the slope of this line, it is nothing but EM. Okay, EM. So you can determine this sigma m prime in terms of EM. Okay, so this is what has been written here. Okay, just insert for this. So finally you are going to get this formula for longitudinal strength of unidirectional lamina. Okay, now for the case when EF is very large than EM, like for the stiff fiber, very stiff fiber, what will happen in that case? This term will be negligible as compared to the first term. And also for high value of fiber fraction volume fraction, this term will be negligible. Okay, so then it can be approximated as this. So this is longitudinal tensile strength of to the is having more tensile strain compared to matrix, then this is true. So then this line is going to define this line is going to be this line is going to be used to calculate that composite tensile stress, tensile strength. Okay, so again here this is corresponding to this. We have sigma f prime F1T, this is FMT. This is ultimate failure stress or strength of matrix, right? So just you multiply it with corresponding volume fraction. So that will give you this strength of composite. Okay, and then finally you can insert it. Okay, so that way we can determine longitudinal tensile strength of composite, having known volume fraction, elastic modulus, and failure stress and strain of constituents. So as I was telling that, like when load is increased, as shown in this figure, okay, as shown in this figure, you see when the load is increased, what is going to happen? Okay, what is going to happen when the fiber will be broken? What will happen? Fiber will be broken. So then there will be some redistribution of stresses. When there is no fiber broken, then the whole load will be taken by the fibers, and fiber will be subjected to uniform kind of axial stress, right? But when fiber breaks, what will happen? At the near to the fiber where this is broken, you can see here, and this end would be just like short fiber, okay? And as I talked, when it is broken, then at the end of the fiber, axial stress in the fiber will be zero, but interfacial shear stress would be reached to some maximum value, right? So this is the variation, right? This is the variation at the end of the fiber. As you move away from the end, then this axial stress in fiber will increase to to sigma f naught value, that is the nominal stress in the fiber, axial stress in the fiber. But at the same time, interfacial shear stress will reduce. Interfacial shear stress means near to this interface, the load will be transferred to the matrix, and then from the matrix to the neighboring fibers. So this will be the stress distribution. Okay. So this is at the end of the this fiber, broken fiber. But if you look at neighboring fiber, what will be the stress distribution? You can see here. This is also going to result in little increase in the stress. See, here it is shown. Okay. Normally it is subjected to this value of stress, but if let us say some fiber is broken near to this fiber, so what is the effect of that? So that you can see here, it will result in little increase in the stress near to that point, near to that broken fiber. Okay. Similarly, if you look at the shear stresses, interfacial shear stresses, so that also will increase near to that. Am I clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so this actually give you the picture that when fiber fails, then how that is going to result in the distribution of stresses. Okay, how they will be distributed in the broken fiber, or how it will be distributed in nearby fibers, like that. So that picture should be clear. Okay. Now, depending upon the property of the constituent, these initial fiber breaks produce different type of failure in the vicinity. Okay, so this is what you should know. Once one fiber is broken, what is going to happen in nearby? Okay, you can see what can happen. First thing is that once this fiber is broken, what may happen? Matrix cracking transfers to the tensile loading in composite with a brittle matrix and relatively strong interface. Like when matrix is brittle and the interface is strong, then this is going to happen, and means matrix cracking transfer to the tensile loading will take place. This is what has been shown here. Like you see, look at this. Okay, look at this. Fiber is broken, and then because of that, matrix is brittle. Matrix is brittle. At the same time, the interfaces are strong. Then it will result in this. It will result in matrix cracking transfers to the tensile loading. Tensile loading in this direction, and it will result in the matrix cracking perpendicular to the transverse loading, tensile loading. Okay, so this is the first case. Second is fiber matrix debonding can take place, and it will be in the case when the weak interface is there, and also when there is a relatively high ultimate fiber strain is there. So if it is so, then this kind of debonding can take place. Yeah, clear. So this kind of debonding can take place. And remember that this is when the interface is weak and relatively high ultimate fiber strain is there. So then only this will take place. Now, second, when let us say the matrix is ductile and strong interface is there, like strong interface is there means there will be no debonding. But here also their strong interface was there in first case. In third case also strong interface, but in the in between case, the second case, the interface was weak. That's why the debonding has taken place. But in the third case, matrix is ductile, and you remember that, and strong interface is there, so there will be no debonding. But matrix is ductile, and you know what is going to happen. Okay, so there will be conical shear fracture because ductile matrix will fail because of the shear, and that will be in case it will be along a plane inclined at 45 degree. So that's why conical shear fracture in a relatively ductile matrix will be observed. Clear? Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yes. Also, you can note here that like initially what is going to happen. What is the failure sequence in a unidirectional composite with fiber dominated strength under longitudinal tensile loading? There will be some local kind of failure. These are the local failure of fiber. Okay, and then they will combine together, and finally you can see that three stages shown here. There will be many local fiber failure. So then nearby fiber will fail. Okay, nearby fiber will fail like this, and they will combine together, and finally there would be ultimate failure like this. So this is what you can observe. Okay. Okay, so also depending upon the response of your matter, like matrix, if it is brittle matrix, composite, like ceramic matrix, if you're talking about. Okay, so in ceramic matrix, what happen is the failure strain of matrix is lower than the fiber. Okay, right? Because matrix is matrix is brittle, and their you know that ultimate failure strain of matrix is lower than that of the fiber. So then what will happen? That it would be failed because of the like it will fail in brittle manner. Okay, brittle manner. So that is what has been shown here. Okay. Here also you can see like matrix cracking and local stress distribution in a unidirectional brittle matrix composite. Okay. Matrix is brittle. Okay, and tensile loading is there, and if the failure strain of matrix is lower than fiber, what is going to happen? There will be failure of matrix first. Okay, like matrix will fail like this at a number of points, at number of, this is just modeling. It is model like there will be some matrix cracking at regular places, at repeated places, at equal interval of spacing, right? So because of this matrix breakage, cracking, what is going to happen in the stress distribution in the fiber or in the matrix? So this is what has been shown here, right? Like for example, here, if you see this part, matrix is cracked. So then, how it is going to affect the stress distribution near to the in the fiber near to that cracking? So this has been shown. So actually, it will result in little increase in axial stress and also increase in interfacial shear stress. Right? Similarly, if you look at matrix, what is going to happen in the matrix? Okay, matrix in this region, how it is going to affect? So you can see here the axial stressing in the matrix where it is cracked, there it will be 0, and as you move away from that cracked part, cracked end, so axial stress in the matrix will increase. So this is the stress distribution because of the or you can say that stress redistribution because of matrix cracking in case of brittle matrix composite, right? Now coming to this part, longitudinal tension, there is one term that is called ineffective fiber strength length. What is ineffective fiber length? It's mean that if you look at this, where is that? Yeah. So this is what I had shown. This is the end of the fiber where it is broken. Fiber is broken. Okay. And because of that, you know that axial stress will be 0. And this interfacial shear stress will be maximum, or that will increase near to that end. And as you move away from that fiber fiber broken end, what is going to happen? This axial stress will increase, and the shear stress, interfacial shear stress will decrease. Okay, at a particular distance delta, this sigma will increase to sigma f. Sigma f naught means the fiber stress when there is when the fiber is not broken. Okay, so the sigma f naught would be there. Sigma f is the fiber stress. Okay, and sigma f naught is also fiber stress when there is no fiber breakage. Okay, so sigma will increase to sigma f naught or some percentage of sigma f naught means after a distance of delta. Like after delta, the sigma f will increase to from 0 to some percentage of sigma f naught, right? So that is what delta is, and usually this is taken as when sigma f reaches 0.9 or you can say 90% of sigma f naught. So that distance is called delta, and this is actually called ineffective fiber length. Okay, so this is defined as in the case of a composite with ductile matrix, a fiber breaks in a weak point and break at a weak point, and the fiber stress sigma f increases exponentially from 0 at the break point, like here 0 at the break point. So this is what I explained, that it will increase from 0 to some percentage of sigma f naught. Okay, and this distance when it is increases from 0 at the break to the far field value. Far field value means away from the broken end, and it happens at a distance delta, and this is called ineffective length or transfer length. So this actually is defined as this. Okay, this distance can be defined as that at which the fiber stress reaches a certain fraction k of the far field stress, right? And usually this is taken as 0.9. K is taken as 0.9. Now one simple way of calculating delta how we can calculate delta. So this is what we should know. Like you have to just do some equilibrium. You will have to consider equilibrium. One simple way of calculating delta for a ductile matrix is by assuming the interfacial shear stress to be uniform over the length delta. Like you can think of. Yes, you can just think of that where it is broken, fiber is broken. Okay, so there will be some shear interfacial shear stress. Okay, and there will be some stress that is developed. So you have to just do the balancing. Okay, balance. This is sigma f naught, and this force balance you have to do. Force developed by sigma f naught equal to force applied by the interface. Okay, so you know that if tau naught is the average shear stress. Okay, and this delta is the length, effective length. So what will be the force? The tau naught into pi. D is the diameter of the fiber. This is the D, the diameter, and delta is the length. It should be balanced by sigma f naught. Sigma f naught that is applied on the area, pi by 4 d square. Like this is on the fiber. So if you do this balancing, so you can obtain this relationship. Okay. Actually, we are interested in calculating delta. Okay, delta can be calculated from here. Okay, and similarly, different people have given that how fiber stresses vary near the fiber break. There is one model given by this Rosen et al. So this he predicted that sigma f, it will vary with x, like this variation. This variation is defined by this relation. Okay, so here this is equal to sigma f naught. This is the far field fiber stress, gamma x. Gamma is actually given by this. It depends upon fiber modulus, shear modulus of matrix, volume fraction of fiber, and the radius of fiber. Okay, so this is the variation. Now this can be plotted. You can plot it, and by setting x equal to delta and k is equal to 0.9, you can just find out that delta by d will be equal to this. It is easy to derive. You can just take k is equal to 0.9. Okay, and x will become delta. So you just put here. Okay, and then you can just determine this. Okay, so this can be derived. Okay, similarly, when we calculate interfacial shear stress, so actually this is again you have to do some balancing, force balancing like this. It is a fiber, and this side, let us say fiber stress is sigma f, and this side it is sigma f plus d sigma f. Okay, and then it is a length of the element is dx, and similarly it has resulted in some interfacial shear stress tau I. So you have to do the balancing, force balancing, and if you do that force balancing, you can get this relationship. Okay, and using this and this relation, this one, this equation, and this one, finally you can get this relation. Okay, actually it is telling that how this interfaces CS test will vary. Okay, so and the key is that you will have to consider equilibrium. Okay, so equilibrium you will have to consider. So this is by Rosen et al. Rosen et al. Now depending upon different composite material system. For example, if you talk about carbon epoxy material, where Gm is equal to this and Ef is equal to this, and for a volume fraction 0.65, you can just calculate this ratio actually. Okay, this ratio can be calculated as this. Okay, or you can say that tau I will be equal to this multiplied with this. Like for a fiber stress, if it is failed at 3100 megapascal, the maximum interfacial shear stress would be 232 megapascal, and it is a value which is much higher than the matrix. Okay, matrix or interfacial shear strength. Okay, so that is actually will tell you whether a debonding will take place or not. Okay, because if it is interfacial shear stress induced are more than interfacial shear strength, then obviously the interface will be weak, and then it is going to cause debonding. Okay, similarly there is another model by Cox. Okay, same model, like for the same problem means how the shear stresses and interfacial shear stresses and fiber stresses are varying near fiber break. Now, if you look at this Cox model, so this is what we derived in that chapter. So that's why I talked that today. Okay, beta is equal to this, and epsilon 1 is the average longitudinal strain in the composite and fiber. Okay, and you know that at K equal to K means uh, K means the fiber stress. Okay, fiber stress, and sigma f is the fiber stress, and sigma f naught is the far field fiber stress. Okay, and the ratio K, K we defined as this. K we defined as this. This is what we defined K, right? But now we are interested in this. We are interested in at a distance x equal to L by 2 minus delta. Okay, so this is what K is, like where this K become 0.9. Where it will become 0.9, you know that when there is a fiber like this is a fiber, and around this we have matrix, and this is x, this is y, or this is r, this is the radial direction. So near to this it will be 0, and as you move away from it, so at a distance delta, that is means x equal to L by 2 minus delta. Okay, L by 2 minus delta. So at this point K will become 0.9. So that's why I'm calculating K is equal to sigma f by sigma f naught, but it become 0.9 when it is calculated, sigma f is calculated at x equal to L by 2 minus delta. Okay, so if you do that, K, hello,
Yes, sir.
yeah,
Yes, sir.
am I clear or not?
Clear, sir.
Yeah, so
No,
I
sir.
will take, yeah, next class किसका है आपका? Do you have next lecture?
लैब है सर आज उसकी वाइब्रेशन की लैब थी
नहीं लैब फिर क्या आप ऑन कैंपस है उस कैंपस है?
सर लैब तो नहीं फिर होगी ना
अच्छा, ये एक चीज और मैं भूल जाऊंगा कि मैं आज आपको एक जो है बेकस का जो स्टूडेंट वर्जन डाउनलोड करने का है लिंक, वो मैं भेजूंगा आपको, ठीक है। बेटर है कि आप अपने लैपटॉप पे इंस्टॉल कर लीजिए उसको,
ओके सर।
ठीक है। और उसके अलावा जो है मैं कुछ प्रॉब्लम्स हैं जो कि अबेकस पे मतलब हैं कुछ, तो मैं चाह रहा हूँ कि आप लोग जो है इस दौरान जो है मतलब उसको करें ताकि आपका हैंड्स ऑन अबेकस पे भी हो जाए, ठीक है। एंड व्हाट आई वांट इज आफ्टर डूइंग दिस सिंपल एग्जांपल्स I want to that you will also learn how to model a composite in Abacus और उसका सिंपल एनालिसिस कैसे कर। तो उससे पहले आपको अबेकस के बारे में पता होना चाहिए और सिंपल प्रॉब्लम कैसे एनालाइज करते हैं वो पता होना चाहिए। उसके बाद देन वी कैन टॉक अबाउट द हाउ टू मॉडल ए कंपोजिट इन अबेकस एंड देन हाउ टू डू सिंपल एनालिसिस। ओके,
यस सर।
तो मैं वो लिंक भेज दूंगा। वैसे तो जो मैं भेजूंगा वो स्टूडेंट वर्जन है, राइट। उसका कुछ लिमिटेशन है, लाइक वो 1000 नोट्स तक ही काम करता है, राइट। तो बट प्रैक्टिस के लिए ठीक है वो,
जी सर।
अदरवाइज इट इज फुल सॉफ्टवेयर।
कॉलेज में भी
ओके सर।
स्टूडेंट वर्जन ही
कॉलेज में कौन सा है?
स्टूडेंट वर्जन ही डाउनलोड है।
तो उसमें कितने नोट्स मतलब काम करते हैं?
1000 नोट्स
1000 है ना, तो इसका भी 1000 है। एक्चुअली दिस इज व्हाट आई आस्क्ड दिस, ये कंपनी वालों से मैंने बोला कि इस तरह से हमारा जो है कैंपस हो गया है, सो देन आई रिक्वेस्टेड हिम टू प्रोवाइड दिस। तो मैं फॉरवर्ड कर ही देता हूँ ये वाला जो है ना आपको। किसको करूँ मैं ये? लेट मी सेंड इट टू ऑल, जस्ट ए मिनट।
यस।
और एक वीडियो भी मैं भेज रहा हूँ आपको जिसपे कि आप ये सब देख सकते हैं कैसे इंस्टॉल करना है। दो लिंक भेजे मैंने, एक तो है डाउनलोड करने का और एक है कैसे इंस्टॉल करना है उसको, उसके बारे में एक वीडियो है, वो आप देख लेना। और इसमें आपको MNIT का ईमेल आईडी यूज करना पड़ेगा, ठीक है।
जी
यहाँ
सर।
कहीं मांगे तो आपको MNIT का ईमेल आईडी देना पड़ेगा। ओनली
ओके
देन
सर।
दे विल प्रोवाइड दिस एक्सेस टू दिस स्टूडेंट वर्जन, ठीक है। ये मैंने भेज दिया है। तो ये छोटा सा पार्ट और बचा है, लेट वी कंप्लीट दिस। तो यहाँ से जब आप इसको पुट करेंगे यहाँ पे k इज इक्वल टू दिस, ठीक है। बट व्हेन फॉर k.9 एंड फॉर लार्ज l का मतलब ये जो लेंथ है इसकी, लेंथ ऑफ द फाइबर फॉर लार्ज l, so this you can do some approximation and then you can calculate again this ineffective length और ट्रांसफर लेंथ और इनफेक्टिव लेंथ, ठीक है। सो इसको आप कैलकुलेट कर सकते हैं। ये सिंपल इजी है। अगर आप इसको देखेंगे हाउ टू कैलकुलेट दिस, क्योंकि k.9 हो जाता है, k.9 हो जाएगा तो यू नो यहाँ से जो है यू जस्ट एक्सपेंड इट कोस हाइपरबोलिक एंड कोस हाइपरबोलिक बिलो 1, यू एक्सपेंड इट एंड दिस इज 0.9 एंड वहां से आप ये निकाल सकते हैं कि जो डेल्टा है, डेल्टा बाई डी, दिस विल बी इक्वल टू दिस, ओके। और डेल्टा बाई डी का मतलब क्या है, अगर आप उसको देखेंगे, अगर फॉर एग्जांपल यू नो दिस एक्चुअली अगर इसको देखेंगे इधर तो डेल्टा इज इक्वल टू, अगर इसको कंपेयर पास 1.15 बाई बीटा आर ऐसे बन जाएगा, ये सिंपल है ना। और इधर से अगर देखेंगे d इज इक्वल टू 2r, तो r से r का मतलब क्या आएगा, डेल्टा इज इक्वल टू दिस इज 2.30 बाई बीटा। तो एक्चुअल में ये निकल के आएगा इससे, जब आप इसको करेंगे तो ये निकल के आएगा, ठीक है, तो ये आपको चेक करना है। अगर इस रिलेशन से आप ये निकाल लेते हैं तो फिर आप ये निकाल सकते हैं, ये वाला रिलेशन निकाल सकते हैं। इज इट क्लियर?
Yes, sir.
ओके, तो इसको आप करके देखिएगा। उसके अलावा जो है, जो मैक्सिमम फाइबर स्ट्रेस कहाँ पे होगा, दैट एक्टर एट द फाइबर, सेंटर ऑफ द फाइबर। सेंटर ऑफ द फाइबर का मतलब जहां पे ये x इक्वल टू 0 है, x इक्वल टू 0 है, राइट। x इक्वल टू 0 आप उसमें पुट कीजिए, x इक्वल टू 0 पुट करेंगे तो आपके पास ये रिलेशन आएगा। तो दिस इज मैक्सिमम फाइबर स्ट्रेस। और मैक्सिमम इंटरफेसियल शियर स्ट्रेस, इट इज अकर एट द एंड ऑफ द फाइबर, दैट इज x इक्वल टू L/2। तो टाउ आई का जो रिलेशन है L/2 रख देते हैं, तो ये आपके पास आ गया। क्लियर? तो ये आपको बताता है कि ये जो है कैसे हमारा जो स्ट्रेस वेरिएशन है नियर टू द फाइबर, और फाइबर जब ब्रेक हो जाता है तो कैसे होगा, वो सब ये रिलेशन ये आपको यूज करना है टू कैलकुलेट ऑल दिस। सो दिस डेरिवेशन यू हैव टू डू योरसेल्फ। मैंने थोड़ा एक्सप्लेन किया है, बट एक बार आप जब तक मैनुअली नहीं करेंगे तो यू विल नॉट गेट इट। ओके,
सर एक क्वेश्चन, एक बात, वो ERP पे सर वो स्कॉलरशिप के लिए अप्लाई करने के लिए ऑप्शन आ रहा है, तो हमें
जैसे कि
उसको
मैंने
करना है
बताया
क्या?
कि कुछ कंसीडर कोक्स मॉडल। क्या जी? हेलो, हाँ क्या कह रहे थे
सर ERP पे स्कॉलरशिप अप्लाई करने का ऑप्शन आ रहा है, तो उसको हमें अप्लाई करना है सर।
क्या अप्लाई करना है? आई नोट गेट।
स्कॉलरशिप सर, स्कॉलरशिप ऑप्शन आ रहा है स्कॉलरशिप अप्लाई करने के लिए।
अगर आ रहा है
स्टाइपेंड अप्लाई
तो आप अप्लाई कर दीजिए। हाँ जी, ठीक है ना। आपको असाइनमेंट तो हो गए ना अपने अपने जो हैं, जो भी फैकल्टी हैं, यू हैव बीन
Yes, sir.
असाइंड फैकल्टी, राइट। हाँ,
Yes,
तो
sir.
अब अपना जो है, आप अगर आपको ऑप्शन दिख रहा है ERP के ऊपर, यू कैन अप्लाई इट।
ओके सर।
ओके सर।
क्लियर?
यस सर।
टुडे आल्सो ऑन चैप्टर 4, सो दैट आल्सो यू हैव टू डू एंड सम। एंड कोई डाउट है आपको, कुछ क्लैरिफिकेशन है, कुछ प्रॉब्लम आ रही है, देन हाँ कैसे करना है कैसे नहीं करना, राइट।
यस सर।
एनी क्वेश्चन, एनी डाउट? ओके, so let me stop here then. Let me take attendance first. Yeah. ऋषिकेश
प्रेजेंट सर।
दिनेश
प्रेजेंट सर।
इंद्रा Indra is there? Mohammad Fahad,
प्रेजेंट सर।
Ditya, Vijay,
प्रेजेंट सर। प्रेजेंट सर।
Kishan,
Yes, sir.
Rahul,
यस सर।
Saurabh,
यस सर।
Mohit,
यस सर।
Vishal, Raval Harsh,
यस सर।
Vajanti,
Yes, sir.
Ravindra,
प्रेजेंट सर।
Bhupendra,
यस सर।
प्रतीक्षा, Arnav, Arnav is there? Deshna,
Present, sir.
Udit, Udit. Okay.
Sir,
Yes.
sir, Rahul is present.
राहुल का हो गया,
Yes, sir. Okay.
विशाल
ठीक है, विशाल का भी हो गया है। Okay.